The neutral space station Concordia hummed with diplomatic tension as delegates from across the galaxy converged for the most crucial alliance summit in decades. Dr. Elliot Marsh adjusted his formal jacket, still uncomfortable with the weight of representing humanity's linguistic and psychological expertise in such high-stakes negotiations. The massive observation deck offered a breathtaking view of the star-filled void, but his attention was drawn to the steady stream of alien dignitaries filing through the airlocks. When the Varric delegation arrived, the atmosphere shifted perceptibly. Their reputation as fierce warriors preceded them, but it was their leader who commanded the room's attention, or rather, the studied avoidance of it. She stood apart from her entourage, tall and regal despite the ceremonial cloak that seemed designed more to conceal than to honor. Her pale purple skin caught the ambient lighting, and beneath the intricate veil covering half her face, Elliot glimpsed the unmistakable signs of old wounds. This was Princess Laxa, he realized from his briefing materials. The king's eldest daughter, once destined for the throne before a diplomatic mission went catastrophically wrong. The reports mentioned her injuries in clinical terms, but seeing her now, Elliot understood the deeper wound, the way other delegates carefully averted their gazes, the empty space that formed around her like a force field of discomfort. While others performed their elaborate greeting rituals and political theater, she remained motionless, observing everything with dark, intelligent eyes. Her curly hair fell in waves around her shoulders, and her posture spoke of someone who had learned to carry pain with dignity. 2 hands, 2 legs, perfectly proportioned despite what the war had taken from her face, she was undeniably striking, even with the visible scars. Elliot found himself studying her with professional curiosity that gradually transformed into something deeper. Here was someone who had survived trauma and emerged not broken, but refined by it. Unlike the preening ambassadors and calculated smiles surrounding them, she radiated an authenticity that was both rare and magnetic. When their eyes met across the crowded deck, he didn't look away. Instead, he offered a subtle nod of acknowledgement, not the pitying glance she was accustomed to, but the recognition of one person truly seeing another. For a moment, surprise flickered across her visible features before she turned away, her cloak billowing behind her as she retreated to an even more isolated corner of the gathering. The summit hadn't even officially begun, and already Elliot knew his focus would be divided between the delicate negotiations ahead and the enigmatic princess who seemed to embody everything these talks were truly about, the cost of conflict and the hope for understanding. The formal proceedings stretched through the following day, a carefully choreographed dance of diplomatic language and veiled threats. Elliot sat in the human delegations section, ostensibly taking notes on linguistic nuances and cultural communication patterns, but his eyes kept drifting to the Varric princess. She participated when protocol demanded, her voice carrying a melodic quality that resonated even through the universal translators, but she spoke with economy, never wasting words, never playing the political games that consumed everyone else. During the lunch recess, while other delegates clustered in their familiar groups, Elliot made his decision. He approached her table where she sat alone, her meal barely touched, gazing out at the stars through the massive viewport. "Princess Laxa," he said softly, not wanting to startle her. "I'm Dr. Elliot Marsh, human linguistic specialist. May I join you?" She turned toward him, and he caught a glimpse of the scarred side of her face before she shifted slightly, keeping her veil positioned between them. "You may sit, Dr. Marsh, though I wonder at your motivation. Surely your own delegation offers more pleasant company." "Pleasant, perhaps, but hardly as interesting." He settled into the chair across from her, noting how her fingers tensed slightly on her water glass. "I've been observing the communication patterns here, and yours are unique. You speak only when you have something meaningful to say." A sound that might have been a laugh escaped her. "A luxury of being invisible, Doctor. When people expect nothing from you, every word becomes a choice rather than an obligation. Is that what you think? That you're invisible?" Elliot leaned forward slightly, studying her with professional interest that felt increasingly personal. "Because from where I sit, you're the most present person in this room. Everyone else is performing roles, but you're just being yourself." Her dark eyes met his, searching for deception or mockery. Finding neither, she seemed to relax fractionally. "And what do you see when you look at me, Dr. Marsh? What does your professional assessment conclude?" "I see someone who has survived something that would have broken most people. Someone who has learned to find strength in solitude. And I see someone who deserves to be seen as more than the sum of their scars." For a long moment, they sat in silence, the weight of his words settling between them like a bridge being built across an impossible chasm. That evening, Elliot found himself wandering the station's observation deck, unable to concentrate on the diplomatic briefings that awaited him. The stars seemed different here, arranged in unfamiliar constellations that reminded him how far he was from home. He was surprised to find Laxa already there, her cloak replaced by a simple flowing gown that revealed more of her elegant figure. She stood with both hands pressed against the viewport, watching a distant nebula paint the darkness in shades of purple and gold. "Couldn't sleep either?" he asked, approaching slowly so as not to startle her. "Sleep has been elusive since the accident," she replied without turning. "I find space peaceful. It doesn't judge. It simply is." Elliot moved to stand beside her, close enough to catch the faint scent of something like jasmine in her hair. "Tell me about it." "The accident." She was quiet for so long he thought she might not answer. Then, in a voice barely above a whisper, she began. "It was supposed to be a simple diplomatic mission to the Keth sector. I was young, idealistic, certain that my royal status would protect me. The ambush lasted 7 minutes. 7 minutes that changed everything." Her reflection in the viewport showed the damaged side of her face, and for the first time, she didn't try to hide it. "The scars are the least of it, Dr. Marsh. The real damage is what it did to my place in the world. I went from being the heir apparent to being this. A reminder of failure. Something to be hidden away." "Elliot," he said softly. "My name is Elliot. And for what it's worth, their inability to see your worth says more about them than about you." She turned to face him fully, and he found himself looking into eyes that held depths of pain and resilience. "Why do you care, Elliot? You don't know me. You have no stake in my story." "Because," he said, taking a step closer, "I've spent my career studying trauma, and I've learned that the most beautiful people are often those who've been broken and rebuilt themselves. You're not damaged, Laxa. You're refined by fire." Her breath caught at his words, and for a moment, the careful walls she'd built around herself seemed to waver. "You speak dangerously, human. Words like that could make someone believe they're worth saving." "You are worth saving," he replied, reaching out to gently touch her hand. "You're worth knowing. Worth everything." The touch sparked something electric between them, and neither pulled away. 3 days later, the summit had settled into a rhythm of tense negotiations and careful diplomacy. Elliot found himself looking forward to the evening hours when he could seek out Laxa's company. She had begun to open up, sharing stories of her homeworld and her life before the accident. Tonight, she had invited him to her quarters, a gesture that felt both intimate and monumental. Her chambers were elegant but sparse, decorated with artifacts from her world that spoke of a culture that valued both beauty and strength. She moved through the space with unconscious grace, her purple skin seeming to glow in the soft lighting. She had chosen a simpler dress tonight, one that revealed the graceful lines of her neck and shoulders. "I've been thinking about what you said," she began, settling onto a low couch near the viewport. "About being refined by fire." Elliot joined her, careful to maintain a respectful distance despite the growing attraction that seemed to pulse between them. "And I realized I've been so focused on what I lost that I forgot to consider what I might have gained." She turned to face him, and something in her expression had shifted. There was a vulnerability there, but also a newfound strength. "I want to show you something. Something I haven't shown anyone since the accident." With deliberate, careful movements, she reached up and began to unfasten the ceremonial veil that had been her constant companion. Elliot held his breath, understanding the magnitude of the trust she was placing in him. As the delicate fabric fell away, he saw her fully for the first time. The scars were there, yes, a network of silver lines that traced across her temple and cheek, the slightly asymmetrical shape where bone had been rebuilt. But what struck him most was not the damage, but the way her features came together in a harmony that was uniquely, undeniably beautiful. "You're breathtaking," he whispered, the words escaping before he could stop them. Tears gathered in her eyes, not of shame, but of relief. "You truly see me," she said wonderingly. "I see you," he confirmed, reaching out to gently trace the line of her jaw with his fingertips. "All of you. And you're perfect." She leaned into his touch, and when their lips met, it was with the desperate tenderness of two souls who had found something precious in each other. The kiss deepened, hands exploring with gentle reverence, years of isolation and longing flowing into this moment of connection. Later, as they lay entwined in the soft starlight, Laxa rested her head against his chest, her veil forgotten on the floor. "I never thought I would feel beautiful again," she murmured. "You are," Elliot replied, pressing a kiss to her hair. "You always have been." The final day of the summit arrived with an unexpected announcement. Princess Laxa stood before the assembled delegates, her veil nowhere to be seen, her scarred face illuminated by the harsh conference lighting. The room fell silent as she prepared to address the gathering for the first time since the opening ceremonies. "Honored delegates," she began, her melodic voice carrying clearly across the chamber, "I stand before you not as the hidden daughter of the Varick throne, but as someone who has learned the value of truth over comfort." Her dark eyes found Elliot's in the crowd, drawing strength from his encouraging nod. "For too long, I allowed my scars to define not just how others saw me, but how I saw myself." The delegates listened with rapt attention as she spoke of resilience, of finding beauty in brokenness, of the courage required to be authentic in a world that preferred comfortable lies. When she finished, the applause was thunderous, not the polite acknowledgement of diplomatic protocol, but genuine admiration for her bravery. Later, as the various delegations prepared for departure, Elliot found himself in Laxa's quarters, helping her pack the few personal items she had brought. The atmosphere was thick with unspoken questions about their future. "I've made a decision," she said, folding a ceremonial robe with careful precision. "I'm returning to Varick Prime, but not to hide in the shadows as I once did. My father needs to see what I've become, what I've learned." She paused, meeting his eyes. "Will you come with me, Elliot? As my advisor, my partner, my heart?" The question hung between them like a bridge across the stars. Elliot set down the artifact he'd been examining and moved to her, taking her hands in his. "I've spent my career studying how people heal from trauma," he said softly. "But you've taught me something I never found in any textbook, that healing isn't about forgetting the past, it's about choosing how to carry it forward." He pulled her close, marveling at how perfectly she fit against him. "Yes, Laxa. I'll follow you anywhere." Their kiss was tender and full of promise, a seal on their commitment to face whatever challenges lay ahead. When they parted, she rested her forehead against his, her purple skin warm against his own. "Together, then," she whispered. "Together," he confirmed. As their transport prepared to depart for Varick Prime, they stood hand in hand at the viewport, watching Concordia Station grow smaller in the distance. The summit had ended, but their story was just beginning, two souls from different worlds who had found in each other the courage to be completely, beautifully themselves.